Welcome to another video, Purple Political Talk here. Today is Thursday, December 9th, 2021, and today we're going to be discussing the 2022 United States House elections as of today. We're going to be taking a look at a lot of different data that we do have right now when it comes to congressional polls, as well as some redistricting data, and take a look at what that's going to mean for this upcoming U.S. midterm election. So we have a lot of new information since we last have discussed this, and I think it's very important that we take a look, update the information, and discuss what really this means for the 2022 United States midterm elections that, are coming up shortly in around 11 months. But before we do begin, I want to remind you guys to like, subscribe, and to turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. So on your screen right now, you're going to be seeing the just generic polling and the averages with that. So, for a long time, Democrats had a lead, and this was kind of due to a lot of different things. Biden was popular. He was not as unpopular as he currently is now. And Democrats had the support. And, there was this period, I think at the beginning of 2021 where you saw that the Republicans were certainly not at their strongest point. I think a lot of things that had to do with people still getting over Trump and things like that. But as time has progressed, we can see that clearly there's been a shift. We've seen Republicans gain a lot of ground to the point where they've gained 4%. And 4% might not seem like a lot, but, it's not very usual where we see Republicans win or lead in these congressional average polling. Because usually, because of how the popular vote is set up, Democrats end up winning that regardless. But, on average, what people look as the benchmark for a so-so year for Democrats, leading by at least 4, 5, 6 points. Anything less than that is going to be trouble. That's going to mean trouble for the Democrats, simply because there's a big concentration of votes up in California or New York, and that kind of represents more of the popular vote in those states that have very blue districts. And as for the Republicans, getting within 3 or 4% could guarantee you a majority. And as we can see right now, Republicans actually lead, whether it be so slightly, 42.9 to 42.5, they do have a lead, which is monumental. I think that, for Republicans, anything kind of going down by 3 and above is good for them. And as we're seeing, there's been a big referendum on Biden over the last couple of months. A lot of it has had to do with gas prices. We've seen an increase, inflation in general in the economy. We saw some, trends going down for Biden back, and for the Democrats in general back in October and August and September, when we saw a lot of different things happen, especially in Afghanistan and things like that. But over the last month, the situation for Democrats has certainly worsened. Now, what I really want to take a look at, and what's really going to be more important in these 2022 House races, is what does redistricting look like? And overall, I can say, as of right now, the Democrats have redistricted to a much bigger extent and gerrymandered some states to a much bigger extent. Like, take a look at some of these maps. Take a look at Illinois. So in Illinois, what the Democrats did, they effectively got rid of a lot of the Republican districts that were there. Take a look at some of these districts that are extremely gerrymandered. And surprisingly, in a lot of states, the Republican Party has refrained from gerrymandering to the same extent they have done in the past. If you take a look at a lot of these states, you can see the difference. I mean, take a look at Illinois. I think that's the biggest, shift. We see that in this old map, the Republicans had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seats and 2 possibility of, two close seats. Here, they just have 3 and then 1 close seat. So you're seeing a lot of these different trends in a lot of different parts of the country where, the Republicans have definitely lost ground when it comes to gerrymandering, because Democrats have taken the opportunity, and I don't blame them, because at this point, if you have the power and you have the power to shift what's going to happen in Congress, you would be stupid to not take that opportunity in gerrymandering, as bad as gerrymandering might be. And, at a general level, I think that Democrats, unlike past cycles, they've taken advantage of, the gerrymandering. And there's some states that, I think simply we're seeing, the Republican Party not really taking advantage of those things. Take a look at Florida, for example. A lot of the proposed Florida maps, they're not extremely gerrymandered like people thought. If anything, they're about the same. And we're seeing pretty much a thing that, in a lot of these Republican states, the Republicans are not taking advantage of gerrymandering as they did in the past. Politically, it's a strategy, and we're seeing it in a lot of different places. And, in certain states, we see how this is going to have an impact. For example, in my home state of Florida, we're seeing how the Republican Party is essentially splitting up Tampa into three districts, getting that new district would be Tampa. And there you could see that, they've essentially made two districts in Tampa, lean red, and keep one for the blue states. Again, a lot of this is also going to depend on the national environment. How is the country going to feel? How different candidate choices, that's also very important. And that's really going to make sure, to tell us what's going to happen in individual races. Now, you could see again in South Florida, you see kind of the Republicans kind of gaining ground, a district +3 for the Republicans, an even district down in South Florida, and at a general level, you see that what's really going to have an impact is a lot of, different candidate choices and things like that. Now, at a larger scale, redistricting is definitely going to have an impact on this race. As, the boundaries are going to be changed, the political realities are going to be changed in a lot of states. You're going to see a lot of interesting primaries where, people have been drawn into each other's seats. And, the 2022 House elections are going to be, again, the first election since, the redistricting process. And we usually see a lot of retirements. We're going to see a lot of new freshmen in Congress. And, generally speaking, that could relate to a lot of different trends that could be beneficial for both the Democrats and Republicans in depending the state. I think that one of the things that might hurt the Republicans, for example, is bad candidate choice. And what do I mean by this? I think that as far as 2022 is concerned, one of the things that the Republicans are actively doing is sticking with the Trump message. And the Trump message, while its policies are certainly popular with a lot of voters, take a look at what happened in Virginia. Essentially, Glenn Youngkin ran with Trump policies. It's just that he didn't attach himself to the Trump brand. I think that those policies, especially in today's America, where Biden and the Democratic Party are not popular, or at least not as popular as they once were, it's something that could be beneficial for the Republicans to run and shy away a little bit. But with the new freshman faces in Congress, that a lot of these seats are going to be held by freshmen, you can get the more radical sides of the party start showing up, and running for these seats. Same thing for the Democratic Party. I think that right now both parties are at a heavy disconnect. I would say that the Democrats are slightly more disconnected from what the general population feels and thinks. And that might be an issue for them in certain districts. And what really we're going to have to end up seeing once we get all of these approved districts, and we've gotten some, we should have, official districts by sometime next month, if not, in February at the most, because people need to start running their campaign, because you can't just be running for some fictitious congressional district, and that's something that's going to be interesting to see. But, as far as redistricting goes, that's something that's probably going to end up favoring neither party that much. I say if it does, it's probably going to be the Republicans because they have a lot of state legislatures. But overall, the general environment is still that the Republicans are going to likely perform very well. There's a lot of things that can still happen. The Roe versus Wade debate in the Supreme Court could have an impact on 2022. Now, I think that people care more about the economy per se, so that can have more weight. And honestly, it's just a waiting game. As of right now, if I had to make a prediction, I would say Republicans would take control of the House. By how much is the question? And for right now, I'm not really sure. I think that there's a lot of things that can end up happening. I think it could be a slight majority if, the Democrats could get their stuff back together. And if that does not end up being the case, where the Republicans continue to make gains in different parts of the country and reach out to different types of voters, I think the Republicans could easily win 20, 30, seats in Congress next time around, and maybe the map is going to be designed for that to happen. But that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it informative. If you did, please give it a huge thumbs up, like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye.